Hey everybody, so today I want to look at Portmaster and outbound traffic from Autodesk software. So there's a few things that Autodesk pushes out, and I just want to kind of take a look at it. And this is more of just an interest of mine, and I haven't messed with outbound traffic very much, but I wanted to share what I learned, and then in case anybody else is interested, share some of the resources and things I use for that. So I use Portmaster to manage outbound traffic, and it will even prevent outbound traffic that isn't necessary for the application to run. And it is an open source tool, so it is free. There is a paid version, which I paid for it just for this video to kind of see if it gave me more information. I think you can download it for other OSs, but also there's various software out there that do this as well. This is just happens to be the one I've tried. I like it. I think it's pretty intuitive, but it is interesting to see what traffic goes out of your computer and then what you can prevent and what some of the extra things are that aren't necessarily needed for the application to run. You can also prevent entire like companies, so Meta, Amazon, Google. If you wanted to, you could block those, and they have a lot of other features as well. So I was watching some videos, and there are companies that will block certain ports, but when a computer's communicating with another, like a cloud service, so some of Revit's components communicate with the cloud service. If you're using ACC, it's probably communicating with the cloud service. And there are certain ports that I know like companies will just automatically block, but there's like a huge list, and I found this on Wiki, and the main one that I've noticed, at least on my machine and some of the things that I've watched, is the 443 port number. So that is what a lot of that communication is going through, and we'll see that in a little bit when we actually look at some of the values and or some of the communication happening with Revit on my machine. So a while back I used Postman to mess around with the Forge API, now called APS, or Autodesk Platform Services, and there was a joke API that was pretty cool for just learning how to use an API, and this is something I wanted to do for this video and just test it out, but using Portmaster to see what the communication was and just kind of show you an example of it. So this is something you could easily do. I'm using Jupyter Notebook in this example, but I created just some code to reach out to the joke API and then return whatever that is. And you can see there that I had the first line, and then after I run it, refresh it, and Portmaster, we get the second line there. So the first one was from a test I did beforehand just to make sure it came through, and then I ran it again, and you can see here that it's using the port 443, and you can also see this is coming from Canada. So there's a lot of information you can see when that communication is happening, the IP address, other information. But as you can see, a lot of pretty much any, as far as I know, any information that's going out of your computer, this tool is looking at that and tracking it. So in the tool, you can go to overall network activity, and then you can search for specific keywords. In this case, I searched for Autodesk. And we can see here all the Autodesk communication that's going out, all the network activity. And in this case, I'm highlighting the LaunchDarkly, which is a tool that they use. And I think it's a relatively new tool, at least from what I was doing through research. I don't know entirely what they do with it on desktop apps. I do know they use it for mobile apps. There is an article that's out there that talks about it. But there's also a video, YouTube video kind of talking about it as well. But here you can see we can, look at that activity, see where it's communicating. In this case, it's a US server. and then what tool, in this case, Autodesk Revit. The cool thing about using a tool like Portmaster is that you can see that outbound activity, and if it's something you're not comfortable with and you want to block it, you have the ability to do that. Now, keep in mind that might prevent the software from working, depending on what it is. But here I found that it was using Autodesk software was using LaunchDarkly, and then I was able to go look that up, see what it was about, learn a little bit more about the overall software and how it works. And if I want to block it, I have the ability to do that. So that's, I think, kind of nice. So looking at some of the features that this tool has, there is a mention in here about decoupling the code deployments from feature releases. And from a YouTube video I watched related to this, it was a interview from LaunchDarkly with Autodesk, and they mentioned that a big reason for why they use this is to release individual features, and instead of rolling back an entire deployment, they roll back a single feature, and they're able to fix that and then roll it back out. And far as I know, at least related to desktop stuff, it sounds like that's what they're using it for, but I'm not entirely sure. But that does sound kind of cool, having the ability to kind of roll it out, and then if you need to roll back a feature, you have that without rolling back the entire deployment. So this is the YouTube video. I mentioned that the Autodesk folks, so in this case the director of engineering, was talking to a person from LaunchDarkly about how they're using LaunchDarkly. The most of the conversation was related to mobile development, but there was a few times where they didn't explicitly say it was for desktop, but she would ask the question and then pivot to how does that work in the mobile environment. So I really don't know how much they're using this tool with the Autodesk desktop apps. And that is something I'm curious about, but I just couldn't find much information about that other than these few articles and YouTube videos. So, but if you want to check this out, I'll put the link below. So if you want to watch it, feel free to do that. So back to Portmaster, if we look at another outbound post, then we'll see that we can get the IP address, and then we can actually search up that IP address if we want. Here in this case, I took that IP address and then I went out to a website called What Is My IP Address, and then I'm able to paste it in there and then look it up. And that could be kind of cool to see where that's going. And then from there, with that information on the services, the country, the company, city, and such, you could dig into it a little bit further if you're not comfortable with how it's communicating outside of that, outside of your environment. But I think that's kind of neat that we can see the IP and where it's sending that information, and you can use this website. There's also, I think, a handful of others. This was just the first one that I found when I was Googling how to search IP addresses. Here you can see there are other things that might have activity on your machine, and that would be third-party tools, in this case Speckle. There is also a CTC tool that I use, and it's a add-in development company that has a Revit add-in, and I think they're part of ATG. So depending on what firm you work for, you may have that add-in in Revit. That one also has network activity. Now, I don't know to what extent. I do know they have cloud licensing now and some other things. And I wasn't able to get it to pop up again, so I didn't get a chance to grab the screenshot. But you can see the outbound traffic from your computer to another source by using this tool, which is kind of cool. And while I was doing this research, I also stumbled upon some traffic that I couldn't figure out where it was going, which I thought was weird. It also wasn't encrypted. And what I found was sometimes software will communicate to other software that's all local in your environment. I don't know what all of those are related to Autodesk software, but you may see those as well if you start to dig into this, where it doesn't have a lot of information. It's also not encrypted. It's probably because it's communicating locally on your machine and just talking to another application that is installed with Revit. So it could be like Revit talking to the Revit accelerator. I just couldn't get a lot of information from that, like just the post it was making, and so I didn't want to talk about it because I just don't have enough data there. But anyways, you'll notice that if you're going through. I don't know how often that is for other other applications, but that was something that was kind of interesting. And that's all I've got. It was kind of fun to dig into this and do some research on this. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on this or have done similar things. If you do dig into this, let me know. And let me know what you think about that Portmaster tool. And if you are using others, let me know as well. Because I'm always interested to see if there's better tools out there or other tools that do other things. So anyways, hopefully you found some value from this. Again, this was just something interesting to me. I thought it would be cool to talk about and just kind of see what I can learn from doing it. So anyways, I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.